Hello everyone and welcome to the App Inventor quick demo guide on using buttons. This is just going to be a very simple app to demonstrate the use of buttons in your app. To get started, I'm just going to drag two buttons to the screen and a label. And just for looks, I'm just going to drag a horizontal arrangement object, and I'm going to drag all three of my components into it. And I put the first button on the left and the second button on the right. The first button, I want it to be -1, so I'm going to rename it. Just going to rename it -1. And then the other button, +1. And then the middle one is just going to be our count. Basically, it's just going to be a very simple app where the middle will display a number. If you click the left button, it subtracts 1 from it. If you click the right one, it adds 1 to it. I'm going to click the first button, and I'm going to change its text property to just say -1. And then the other one, I'm going to say +1. And then here, the text is just going to be 0. So there we are, and let's make it a little bit bigger by highlighting the horizontal arrangement and clicking the width, making it fill the parent, and then everything's center justified. Looks a little bit better, but it's all it looks. Let's click over to the blocks view and let's get our buttons actually doing something. So I'm going to click both of my buttons here on the left, and I'm going to drag the first block when, and then the name of the component .click do blank. I want one of those, and then I want one for the +1 as well because I have two buttons. So when the -1 is clicked, anything that is in here, any blocks that I drag in here, will happen. They will what's called execute. And similarly, when the +1 is clicked, anything in here will happen as well. Well, basically, we need one more thing. We need a variable to just be a number. So let's just drag this out here. It's the very first one in variables, and you type in here the name of your variable. I'm going to name it count, and this is just going to be a number. The number is 0 at first. So I'm going to click math. The very first one in math is just a number, and it's already set to 0, so that's perfect. So I have a variable called count. It's initialized to 0, and whenever these buttons are clicked, I just want count to change, and then I have to update the label in the middle, to display count. Those are the only two things I have to do. So first off, when minus is clicked, I want to change this count variable. So basically, I want to go to variables, and I want to set blank to, well, I'm going to click this pull down, and I'm going to select my variable global count. So we're resetting count every time the minus button is clicked, and basically we're going to reset this count to a new number. And it's just going to be click math, click the minus, click math again, and then the number. And we're not going to subtract 0. We're going to subtract 1. So basically what needs to be right here is count itself. So then we can do count itself -1. So I'm going to variables, get. And that's going to give me the current value for count, wherever it is, wherever I am. So now this block is done. Whenever the minus button is clicked, I'm going to set the global count variable to whatever the global count variable is. That's what this get block does. It gets the current variable count and gets its number, subtracts 1, and then resets it to count. So basically we're just taking this count variable and we're subtracting 1, and then we're saving it back into its own variable. And then the last thing we need to do is to change the label count, which is our label. We want to change count.text, which is the text, the actual text property of the label. But we want to reset that text to be the number of the variable that we have. So let's go to variables, get, the exact same way that we did right here. And I'm going to do the same thing for plus. Get global count. But instead I'm going to get plus. Change it to 1. and then duplicate, because that is the exact same. I just right-clicked on it, and I click duplicate. That's how you can double any block, actually. So here we are. We have both of them filled out. And basically, when either of them is clicked, we reset our variable to either what the variable was -1 or what the variable was +1. And then we update our count label, this one. We update it, its text field, more specifically, to the actual count variable itself. And then when this is run, give me a minute, we'll see how it runs. Alright, and here's our app when it's actually running. We have 0 in the middle, and we have a -1 button, and we have a +1 button. If I click the +1, it adds, as you can tell. If I click the -1, it subtracts it. So there we have a very simple counter using 2 buttons. And hopefully after watching this, you will get to know a little bit more about how buttons work, and you can integrate it in your apps. Thanks.